Well, welcome everybody to June Crafty Crows. We're only just in June the 1st. And I would like to tell everybody that our poetry competition has opened today. I'll be giving more details later, so keep that in mind. It's a beautiful day. I've got an awful feeling that quite a few people have gone out into their gardens and are sitting in the sun, but you can't blame them. So I'm going to start. We've got a lovely evening today. We've got Angela France, who will be reading before the break, and got Tom Sastry after the break. And Tom is also going to be our judge for the poetry competition. So it's all very exciting. But I'll start everything off with a little poem that I did in a quietus. It's a bit relevant because we're on the move. I have moved 30 times in my life, and this one will be number 31. So this poem is quite relevant. It's called Squatting. A crab scuttles in the shadows, hides behind the rocks, intent on acquiring a new shell in which to live. A long line of crabs hurry for dwellings. When one residence is left empty, a crab discards his home and climbs in. At each new address, I move in my bed, bring chairs and tables to be illumined by the light through different windows. I try the interior for size, spread self into corners, glad to settle by the hearth, merely an extra in this film of house, while the clock ticks away the minutes till I move on.
That's fair.
Okay, well, we'll get straight on to our open mic, and tonight we're going to open with Peter. So Peter Lay, welcome.
It's me. Okay, I'm gonna start with a couple of, I'm going to start with something. This is from a new collection that's not actually going to be out until 2023. And this is called Aging. Aging is a strange concept to one who is immortal. A concept and understanding that immortality is fragile, not forever. And one day will cease to be, one will cease to be immortal, cease to be. Thank you. That's a nice cheerful one to start with. In my new collection, I've got some haikus that I wrote while I was in Japan. This is actually, it's a link of 4 haikus. It's called Ueno Park Today. Ueno Park, if anybody's been to Japan, you've been to Tokyo, Ueno Park is one of the best places to see cherry blossom. It's like a canopy and people take rugs and picnics and it's just amazing. You have to go there at the end of March, beginning of April, cherry blossom. So this is called Ueno Park Today. Ueno Park today is without a cherry blossom where it once overflowed. I was there at a different time, obviously. A single blossom of cherry dances in wind, lost in a labyrinth. A cherry blossom is so sweet and rare in the autumn of the year. When cherry blossom is bruised, it's still beautiful and smells as sweet. Okay, that's my lot. That was short and sweet, wasn't it?
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. That was lovely. Oh, and hi, Angela. Lovely to see you. Okay, we'll carry on to our next person, Lucia. So you are ready for your poem, please.
Yes, I am ready. I am here. My poem, 4 Potatoes by Lucia Ramos. Last night, the umbrella of the sky opened all its stars, and I was sleeping only in the middle of the night. It was raining, raining with stars, and it was so beautiful. At the TV news, again about war, again about Ukraine, but never we have to say again and again about this subject. An old woman in the middle of the deconstructed fire, an old woman with potatoes in her hands, 4 potatoes in her hands, and a soldier, Russian soldier, with gun. He hits the old woman. The old woman falls down. Around her potatoes, 4 potatoes, only 4. She's getting up. She is picking up her potatoes. The soldier hits her body again and again. Blood is splashing out from the old woman's head. The Russian soldier is going away happily. He is happy because an old woman in the world, an old woman with her 4 potatoes in her hands, who is the enemy of the young Russian soldier, is with blood around her head. The Russian soldier is happy, happy of blood, happy of hitting, happy of destroying an old woman, but the old woman is still alive, with her potatoes, 4 potatoes in her hands. How lucky she is, how lucky. In my room is night, and is raining with dreams this time, a dream with peace, peace for our lives. Thank you.
Unmuted. Thank you, Lucia. Please, could you unmute and give Lucia a big hand for that chilling, but brilliant poem. Thank you very much. Okay, and so we go on to Annie. Annie Ellis. Are you there?
Okay,
Yes.
going to read 2 from my book, 2 short ones.
Okay.
The first one's a little gruesome. It's called The Bat. Lips curled back from the opening. He fled with a colony from rocky walls. Arms outstretched, he caressed the cool air. Night scooped him up on its wings. Pulling the dark thermals, he glided. Ears listening to sonar noises. Amber eyes pooling to black. A shadowed cloak wrapped his brittle bones. Where the moon shone, he would not go. Licking blood from razor teeth, he feels the quest for more. Dreaming a death to others, he goes in search. And a much lighter poem is called Dandelion Clock. A tiny key floated on the breeze. More keys followed, dancing fairies with no say in where they were going. Their white tutus pirouetted. Some grasped at plants on their way, trying to land on an inviting dance floor where they would play one more time. Their toes find a small hole. They start to grow leaves and flowers. One day they will let out keys to the world and start once more a full ballet show. Thank you.
Oh, well, lovely, lovely. Thank you, Annie. Lovely poems. Thank you. Sorry, I'm just looking at my chat message coming up. Welcomes Svongo Poet. He's just put one in the welcome to Crafty Crows. Okay. And next up, well, we do have Svongo Poet. Are you ready for an open mic straight away? Is that all right? Can you hear me, Svongo?
You're muted.
You're muted. Yeah.
Yeah, I've unmuted myself. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thank
I know you've only
you very
just
much.
come.
Thank you very much for having me. Yes.
I think your internet might be a little wobbly.
Okay. Give me a second. Give me a second.
I'll come back
You know,
to you, Svongo. I'll come back to you.
Second.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Vron. Hello, Vron.
Hello.
Would you like to go to your open mic?
Yes.
next? That would
Thank
be
you very
lovely.
much.
Thank you.
Okay. Going to read a couple of new poems. First one's called Unhinged. How much hangs upon the hinge that moves and joins this thing to that, and barely noticed stays in place, performs to keep our doors in use, to be walked through, opened, shut, to ensure they can be locked up tight. Who appointed you to be the hinge? Did you volunteer, or was it just assumed this was your lot in life? To join, connect, fold when required, a bit part in someone else's play, to keep things running as before. And if you dare decline the role, detach yourself and leave the cast in search of better things elsewhere, you will be declared unhinged, unstable, a disruptive force bent on destruction or revenge. You're not supposed to take the stage to be heard, except perhaps a creak to be oiled and silenced, put on mute. God forbid you join complaints with other hinges. Think what power a disregarded troop of you would hold. A disaffected hinge must never know. Dismiss it as unhinged, and out it goes. And this one is about the house that I grew up in as a child. We live in a haunted house. It breathes with the breath of those not quite departed. They inhale as we climb the stairs, sigh out as we come down again. We inhabit their sorrows and their joys, camp out in their living spaces, unwary intruders in the afterlives of others. This house is not private property. It shares and shares alike, plucks the heartstrings of the sensitive, glad and sad of the company. One day, we pack up and leave for a house troubled only by the blossom of ancient fruit trees, the trickle of river-bound streams. Perched on the orchard slope, old boughs creak in the wind. Only an apple falls with a soft thud to the fading music of someone's name. Thank you.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. Troubled only by blossoms and trees and water and fabulous. Do you still live there?
My dad still lives there. My mother was very pleased. We found a house that wasn't quite so haunted.
Yes.
Found it quite difficult.
I'm sure. Okay, and please unmute and a big hand for Ron McIntyre. Okay, shall we try Svongo again? Svongo Poet, do you think your internet's up? And let's hear.
Yes, I think my internet is okay now.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Pongo. I'm a spoken word artist from Zimbabwe. Recently published author. Yay! I'm gonna read from this. My first book is titled Trials. I think I'm gonna start with a much longer poem. It's titled
Svongo, I'm sorry
Yes,
to interrupt, but we only have 3 minutes, I'm afraid, for each.
Okay.
Open mic,
Okay.
so.
All right, that's fine. Yeah, let me know when my 3 minutes are over. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. So this one is titled Sunset. It goes something like this. As the sun goes down, the shadows unite. In the other hemisphere, we are touched by new light. But the sun sets for the vendor. He isn't done yet. The chips he made all day couldn't feed his son yet. Day to day, he dodges trouble, thought bubbles for ideas to lessen the trouble. Tomorrow remains a puzzle. He is living for the moment. His wife is on the go-to, no energy for romance. His uncle is in hospital. They stabbed him in the alley. The shadow of death has been walking in the valley for a t-shirt of a party that he got from a rally. The man he voted for is sleeping in Paling. The salary they get is changed to these leaders, yet they still believe that change is through the leaders. The revolution was sold to the highest bidders, dribblers and murderers, educated brains tied within the chains of capitalistic gains. These are cannibalistic aims, humans swallowed alive, zombies, the walking dead. The sun sinks, but it will rise. We have our lows to know our highs. Someone's born when someone dies. So our prayers reach the skies. I'm gonna read another one. I'm sure my 3 minutes are not over yet.
Okay.
This is titled Vanity. It goes something like this. When your turn comes, the universe knocks many a times. The system, many distractions, few scream victory, many get tired, getting dragged behind, sodomized. Napoleon done thrive. Crucify Africa with 2 thieves on each side. Vanity, we are all going to die. Might be now, tomorrow, the time shall come. Go ahead and enjoy your life now. Thank you.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Please unmute and give a big hand for Spungo. If you want to put details of your book on the chat, please do so. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nice
Thank
job,
you.
mate.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Going straight on to Claire. Claire HM I've got here. Claire.
Hello, yes.
Hi.
I'm going to read some poems about love in defiance and persistence. So, Songs of Flesh. I smell tight and clean, the brackish tang of raindrops, damp prayer at dawn. He is lion's breath, blaze of sun, beating muscle, hot wind reddening sand. After the rasping, dew soaks through the leather fronds, blue mint, petrichor. Singed lashes flutter, hair feathers over belly, blackbirds at sunset. Slurp of blistering tongues, our bodies gibber and cuff, cord of the new moon. This next one's called Purge. You see, the first time was like an urgent beak waiting to steal me, the unwrapped sandwich. A blistering carpet, a stomach gurgling, a garter belt pinching, someone else's story. But now I wake at this dawn with blackbirds singing on the juniper tree, my face on the lion's chest. We are covered in silk and hushed as the sun, a temple fruit levitates, then surges. And the last one I'm going to read is called Slowly, Then All at Once. I shed my body and love dances out. Hot and dizzy as a scalding bath, long and cool as snake molting skin. I slither through wormholes to find you, find all of you at the shore, to hold, to let love keep pouring out of me. To love like I couldn't when I didn't have love to light the wand, to tie loose swords, to fill the broken cups. I coil around 10,000 horses of ocean dance over me. Salt water filling with love, not broken by the sorrow, and swallow and dance the mystery in and out. Love the mystery, sorrow not breaking, dancing through and through. To love, dancing out of skin. To love, to love.
Thank you, Claire. They were beautiful poems, really beautiful. Thank you. Would you
Thank
like
you.
to unmute and give Claire H.M. a really big round of applause? Thank you.
Good job, Claire.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. Lovely.
Okay, next up we have Scott Nixon. Is Scott here?
Don't think so.
Not here. Okay. Well then, Jason, it's your turn.
Okay, great.
Welcome, Jason.
Okay, so this is brand new, written 2 days ago, and it's kind of thinking about confirmation bias, how we're kind of all susceptible to listening to things that fit our own thoughts and agendas and beliefs. And it's just kind of a discussion with myself about that. It's called Unbiased Sonnet. I know that people have agendas they believe in and push forward with persuasion and enthusiasm and expect everyone to agree with their beliefs and opinions that they hold as right and good. That may threaten you or I. And I have learned to appreciate we are conditioned from birth to believe what we are taught and to follow what we are told without question or suspicion. And that young children form a fixed perception of what is expected in society, which will be difficult to scrutinize with critical thought and analysis, as we have been shaped by will, by people that are told what to think and what to say, like us. And they will fight for their belief system and treat any opposition as a danger to their safety. And I understand why they do this, but I do not have to accept or follow those values and traditions that I have assessed and discounted and do not fit inside my ethical judgment or informed reasoning gathered from external sources that I have chosen with to agree. But I know I cannot validate every stimulus that I absorb. But I will use that information to make rational decisions and defend those passionately and tell others what I believe and state what is the truth and treat people with different views as potential threats to myself, family, friends, community, and country, and challenge those with facts I cannot support with 100% accuracy, as there is always a chance that I may have been misguided. But I will stand for my beliefs and protect others from harm and coercion, as I have freed myself from childhood persuasions, and I will listen to and acknowledge you. Sorry, I've just lost my place. From my viewpoint filled with logic and conditions, and I will feel safe knowing I have the freedom to dispute those that seek to preach and enforce their agendas that I can and will not tolerate, as they do not fit with mine.
Wow. Thank you, Jason. That was brilliant. Is that the only one you've got?
It is, yeah.
Okay. Please unmute and give Jason Conway a really brilliant round of applause. I totally echo those sentiments. Brilliant. Well put. Okay, it gives me great pleasure then. I don't know, we're a little early. Angela, are you okay now? Are you?
Yes.
Yes, fine. I don't probably need to introduce Angela to many of you. Angela France has had poems published in many leading journals and has been anthologized a number of times. Her publications include Occupation, published by Ragged Raven Press in 2009, Lessons in Malmaroking, Nine Arches Press 2011, Hyde, Nine Arches Press 2013, and The Hill, Nine Arches Press 2017. The Hill was developed into a live multimedia poetry show, which Angela toured, funded by Arts Council England. Her latest collection, Terminarchy, was published by Nine Arches Press in July 2021 and launched at the Ledbury Poetry Festival. She has an MA in Creative and Critical Writing and a PhD from the University of Gloucestershire. She teaches creative writing at the University of Gloucestershire and in various community settings. So without more ado, please give a very warm welcome to Angela France. Thank you. If you could mute now, everybody. Thank you. Sorry, Angela.
First of all, I want to apologise for being late. I've had it in my head all day that it's 7 o'clock, and when it came to it, I was convinced it was 7:30.
You're here, that's the important bit.
Yeah, my only excuse was that I drove to Exeter and back last night for a reading, so I've been slightly off kilter all day. But anyway, I'm glad to be here, so thank you for asking me. Before I start, I need to just introduce a name that comes up now and again in the odd poem, and that is Sparrow. In the last book, The Hill, the Sparrow was a historical character, a road sweeper who was part of the riots on Leckhampton Hill to keep open the rights of way. And he was very literate. He wrote to the paper all the time, and he was very witty, and he was furious. And he has insisted on having a voice in this book. He's not William Sparrow the man anymore. He's not Sparrow the bird. He's something else entirely. I couldn't tell you exactly what, except he seems to be a sort of eco-conscience. But if you hear him pop up now and again, that's who he is. The first poem has the word terminarchy from the title in it, so I need to explain that as well. Terminarch is one of the words for the last of any species. And when I was reading through the lists of recently extinct animals, you have to wonder if we're going towards terminarchy as opposed to patriarchy, oligarchy, anything like that. So the first poem is Blame. It is actually a villanelle, and I loathe writing villanelles, but this poem wanted to be one. It wouldn't get out of the way until I'd written it. So I resisted it for a couple of weeks, but then it came anyway. Blame. She looks outside, 28 days with no rain, and the grass is browning to the colour of barley, while she cruises online for someone to blame. She tweets and follows women who arrange campaigns and marches to call out patriarchy, while outside it is now 35 days with no rain. Buttons to click, petitions to sign for refugees' pain, shared outrage when protests are met with army bullets. She types long posts about who to blame and rages at answers that seem to mansplain. She reads manifestos for a pure enough party to care about 59 days with no rain. Another jerk shouts, all lives matter again. And Sparrow wonders who has time for the malarkey of searching all day for someone to blame. She's tired. This level of anger can't be sustained. Sparrow says, it won't matter from the terminarchy. Outside, it's been 100 days without rain, and spending all day online is partly to blame. This next one is, you may be aware that every year for the last few years, on National Poetry Day, the BBC has commissioned regional poets to come up with something for the theme. This was the for the West region. I was commissioned to write this for 2018 National Poetry Day, and the theme then was change. And once you get to a certain age, you can't think about change without thinking about getting older. But there are benefits to getting older, as well as the creaking joints and so on. It doesn't matter so much what people think. You're more likely to do what you want and let go of should and ought and all those things. And also, for me, there's more time for creativity. So this is called Second Wind. There are secrets well kept about what may bloom in barren lands. Buddleia always finds a place to root in concrete, rubble, abandoned spaces, and the sculptor's favourite chisel is the one worn to the shape of his hand through years of coaxing art from stone. There are consolations in stiffening joints, slowing my walks on limestone hills, the way a violet nestles in the knuckle of root, or the questing eye stalk of a Roman snail snaps into focus. Years sprint by, still duties and obligations to lie by the wayside, leave days that stretch into space for new passions or old obsessions. There are secrets better kept about what may slip past fences, as wild garlic grows where it will, stretches past boundaries and barriers, indifferent to the effect of its scent on senses, or whether you admire its pale blooms, consolations. And thinking of getting older, there always has to be thoughts about mortality, which are sort of inevitable, but they're not always dark ones. This is No Grave Regrets. I want to browse in the stonemason's yard, cup the palm of my hand over the curve of an angel's wing, the smooth bulb of an urn. I would trace my finger along the sharp valleys of newly chiselled, rest in peace, and much-loved wife and mother. I would watch my shifting reflection in black marble, crouch to hold a cold cherub in my arms, to tell the suited salesman that I'm just looking. My bones won't rest in the ground. Humerus and femur will hollow into wind chimes. Wrist and ankle bones make rattles for dark nights, and the cap of my skull will catch light on the windowsill on a hill. I was delighted when I went onto the campus this week to see that the Swifts were back. Just suddenly heard that squealing overhead, and there they are. And it's always so sad when they go. I'm just delighted to see them back every year, and always worried that they won't come back in a year. What remains? A sudden absence over the field, a flicker of space, a silence, and the Swifts are gone. The dark nests under the eaves, wait, gather cobwebs, dust, leaves tossed from high trees. It is hard to remember how they return, carrying light on their wingtips, piercing the morning as they call. Some things remain. A low sun through a scribble of bare trees, the robin defending his space through winter, declaring mine, mine, over tree, hedge and bird table. Hips and haws scatter jewels in leafless briars, and the sparrows strut, carouse, squabble, and shrug their wide boy shoulders, know that this is their manner all year. Staying with birds for a little while, I'm sure that many people here have tried to write about starling murmurations. I mean, how can you not write about them, really? They're just wonderful when you see them. And I went to a lecture at the university about the science of starling murmurations, which really fascinated me, how they keep those shapes, how they actually do this. And what they do, apparently, is they measure 7 points around themselves and keep the same distance from the next bird in each of those 7 points, apart from the ones on the edge, who have to differentiate between dark, which is bird, and light, which is sky. So that finally gave me a way in that I could write about murmurations. On balance, starlings measure consistent distance around, above and below, before and behind, to sweep the spiral in the evening sky. At the edges, they only see the dark of starling and the light of sky, balancing between them, a fulcrum to shape the dance. There is a space between light and shade, a pivot to balance a time when hedges darken to shadow and streetlights slow wake and daytime drab, the time when curtains draw to blind windows and roads quieten. There is a shape to the time when sparrows jump to roost and small creatures whisker their holes openings to taste the coming night. The fulcrum's point is too fine for clumsy feet. I stumble in trying to hold the balance between dark and light, between caution and courage, in trying to form the contour between word and silence. Okay, this next one is after a poem by the American poet Richard Wilbur. He wrote this poem called Junk, in which he imagined his neighbours' rubbish being left out for the garbage man, being sunk to what he called the depth of diamonds, and somehow being remade into worthy things again. But at the time he wrote it, there was no knowledge of what plastic would do and how long it would be hanging around. This is after Junk by Richard Wilbur. I've also called it Junk, and I've written it in the same form, which is the Anglo-Saxon form, like Beowulf, which relies on alliteration and strong stresses rather than rhyme and meter. So this is Junk after Richard Wilbur. The brook burbles its way down over boulders and gushes against great rocks to cascade and splash into the still pool where spray benefits a low bank of bluebells and cowslips. It is picture book pretty, a place to appreciate our gorgeous earth, to be grounded and grateful. But sparrows at my shoulder saying, look below, between molecules of clear water and minute beads we make plastic and petroleum. And I know that under pebbles and sand will be cellophane and shattered picnic plates, crisp packets and playthings left behind or discarded. If it drops to the depths of diamonds, the hardening heat won't help, won't heal. There'll be no gems, no glitter from this garbage. I live in Cheltenham on Leckhampton Road, and round the corner, I've spotted some people from Cheltenham, round the corner on Cheltenham Lane, there's what used to be the geriatric hospital, Delancey Hospital, which is an old Victorian hospital. And a few years ago, it was converted, as almost every large building seems to be these days, into retirement homes and apartments. And this is conversion. The small gods of the geriatric hospital are lost. They miss the soft shuffle of slippered feet and the mumbles of confusion. They hunch in the corners, not knowing how to ease a last breath or soothe anxious muttering for the loud men in hard hats who block old wards with new walls and divert long corridors into angles and dead ends. They watch the machinery, the scaffolding, bewildered by signs that talk of lifestyle and show apartment. They filch glossy paper and puzzle over retirement in mind. They know matron would scowl at the dust-tropping draperies and can't see where the sluice is hidden in the shiny white cupboards. They retreat to the attics and wait. Time will bring them work to do. This is one of the places I walk my dog every day, which is a field that, after a few people's hard work, has been designated a local green space, so it can't be built on. But it still feels like new building going up around it is somehow putting it under threat, somehow encroaching. Getting late. 4 in the afternoon, and the mist is rising from the field, snagging on tufted humps of yellowed grass, blurring the path. Across the stream, sounds rise from the playing field, hidden by willow and a tangle of brambles. The whoop and rumble of boys' voices from the bike track counterpoints the tinny rhythm of their phones on Spotify, and the higher squeals from smaller children seem to float across the space, confound distance. A new build looms behind the boundary, square-cornered and blank-eyed, while the sky dissolves into pastel stripes behind the sharp roof ridge, and small birds chunter their bedtime calls in the trees and hedges. The oak is bare of leaves and squirrels, acorns all taken or sunk into the mud. Rooks gather, their rusty calls ratcheting from the branches, and a voice whispers at my shoulder, "Nice place, if you can keep it." This next one, I think most poets and probably most artists of any sort, anybody that is creative, is interested in between places, in between times. And this is about an in-between place where somebody else just didn't get it. Watermark. Water geysers from the road, tarmac humped and cracked as if pushed up by tree roots over years. It gushes muddily down the road, bubbles over gutter dams of twigs and leaves, splits on a bend to follow the camber, denies the road its definition. The woman at the waterboard leak line wants to know the name of the road, and I say it doesn't have one. I could tell her how the road rises from the town, leaving street lights and street names behind, how it is a road to somewhere, or from elsewhere, how it is a place between. I could tell her how often I followed the road to climb the hill for consolation or comfort, for exercise or delight. I could tell her how often I have managed its bends, driving in a hurry or not, how the land drops away from the road edge, looks over the flickering clutter of the town at night. She says she can't send a crew without a postcode, the stretch of road or a house nearby. I could tell her I know that old sycamore leaning over a crumbling wall, or how this bend tightens if you come down the hill too fast. There are houses backing into the hillside, hidden behind trees and shrubs, stately gateposts by the road, with blurred names carved into lichen stone, no numbers. I tell her they can follow the water, track up the streams where the road leads into town, past street names and houses with postcodes. The water knows where it is. And following on from conversion, I seem to quite often have small gods coming into poems. This one's called Small Gods, but it's a rather different tone. Our gods are poor things these days, insubstantial, weak and sinew and bone, worshipped through clicks and cliches, and starved though we try to atone through getting and losing, the sacrifice of things we don't need. We've grown past thunder and threat, gods in disguise to walk among us as man or bull, strength only known or used as a way to victimize different thoughts or way to enhance helpless lives. We've lost Thor's hammer, Apollo's bow and Odin's mead, take offence at any prick to our comfort, while we clamour on keyboards for anything to fill the holes they've left. We may edit a page's banner to signal who we are, but try to control anything real of blood and flesh by pinning to screens where we can scroll past whatever disturbs. Copy, paste, refreshed. We are a worn people whose shriveled gods are enshrined in phone lenses as we try to possess anything to solve a communal sense of loss. I've had these experiences since I was a child, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, that sometimes you find yourself just stepping outside of yourself and thinking what strange things we do, what strange lives we lead. This one's called Strange Road. On this long road, on this bus, how strange it is to accept such changes, to be in one instant at a workday desk, and in the next in this steel tube surrounded by people I don't know, going to a city I could so soon be lost in, to be with people I've never met, seeing unfamiliar trees from the windows, watching a plane hang in the sky as it climbs from the airport, yet another metal tube, and wondering how it is we accept such impossibilities. Such acceptance feels as strange as the way wanting fades. When I can want something so badly, I can taste it. A coat I don't need, a painting I have no space for, a house that calls to me from its turrets and mullions. Then in a day or two, the wanting is gone, dropped and unremembered, like the way the cat comes in with something small and furred in its mouth, skulking through the door as if someone might take his prize, ready to growl and spit to defend it, but then dropped it to call for food or attention, uncaring of the scurry under furniture, escape to a dark corner. This is a poem I'm quite fond of. Most of the poems that sort of are place-based are place-based around here. I'm very rooted in Gloucestershire. This one is from the west of Ireland, West Cork, where I occasionally go to a writer's retreat place, particularly when I'm working on a book. Of course, I've not been able to go for 2 years, and I'm feeling relaxed. And nevertheless, it's a very sparsely populated place on the Beara Peninsula, if anyone knows it. And there is something that you see on the walls and gates of a number of the very few houses around there. This one's called Threshold. Every house has something of a whale at its entrance. Bleached vertebrae, their jutting transverses arm span wide, set at the wall's base, where long grass cord through their spaces, perched on the stone post as if about to fly, or carefully alcoved into the wall. A scapula buttresses a wall, a jawbone curves against stone, each whitened and cracked in alien air, and a weathered pair of ribs arc over a gate, lost promenade of a heart cage. When the wind boomed through the lane, and the sea bellows over the rocks to bite the field edge, you could think the bones tremble and shift, yearn together to take their old places, a spine, a shoulder, the suggestion of a tail fluke in the bending trees. And this is my final poem for this evening. I did say that terminarch was one of the words for the last of any species. The other word is endling, which is a much nicer word, and it was going to be my book title, but then an American poet got there first, so I had to change it. All of the animals and birds mentioned in this poem are extinct. And one of the things I found when rehearsing it, there were some wonderful names, and there was really a peculiar grief and guilt at these wonderful creatures passing from our knowledge before we even knew them. But the main thing this poem is about is that the strongest force in nature is the drive to reproduce in all creatures. And to be an endling, to be the last of any species, means that drive can never be met. Endlings drift over the earth, gather in loose clusters, their calls echo and cease. Predators ignore their prey, run together, scan and scent the ground on hill and heath, in widening circles until resigned they lay down alone. The thylacine doesn't try. He's released both need and drive, has given up and found a place to lie still as he blurs and fades to become just a shadow on the ground. On the branch above, the passenger pigeon waits, her claws no longer able to uncurl, tree bark patterning feathers as if braided in mist. Tattered butterflies whirl between leaves, don't settle or rest, passed over by birds. The laughing owl, the forest thrush, circle the sky, possessed by an older, greater need, and scarred by hope, until exhaustion brings peace in death. A Barbary lion calls in the hills unmarked, and sparrow weeps for the want of an ark. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Angela. That
Fantastic.
Absolutely fabulous. Please
Wonderful. Thank you.
unmute and give an amazing round of applause for this fabulous poetry. I love that last poem. It is so sad, and it says everything. It's amazing. And someone put up on the chat about your celebrating life, and you do in these poems, but at the same time there's that constant warning of what we're about to lose, and it makes it really poignant. So you start to celebrate, and then you realize that this could be a false thing to do because we're actually losing more than we have. It's fabulous. It's a wonderful book. Please, Peter's put the book where you can get the book into the chat. Get it. You need to read these poems more than once. I mean, I do not understand why we always listen to a poem once when you look at a painting several times. So you need this book. Thank you so much, Angela.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Please.
Lovely comments.
One more big round of applause. Brilliant poem.
Fantastic.
Ooh. Okay, could we unpin Jason? I got that right, lovely. And stop recording for the moment, please. Okay, everybody, welcome back to the second half of Crafty Crows. This is another exciting half. But before we begin, I want to just do an announcement about a poetry competition which opened today. And somebody, probably Jason or Peter, will kindly put up a link in a minute. And Tom Sastry is going to be our judge. I will be shortlisting, and it will go on until the 31st of August. So you've got plenty of time to get your poems in. It is an open competition. There's no topic. So any poem of yours that you feel good enough, put it in. So, sorry, Peter's just, yes, I can put Leslie Constable in. Leslie, you've got an open mic slot in a moment. Sorry. Yes, so yes, Jason has just put the submission link up, and we will be obviously promoting this and putting out the link every so often, every week, until the end. So I'm really looking, we had a fabulous response last year, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all the poems that come in. Okay, is there any other announcement I should have made, Peter?
Next month.
Oh yeah, next month. Next month is going to be a special month. We're going to have two poets from the States, our very own Tish Camp. Oh, she's not anymore. Tish Ince, Patricia Ince, and Dane. So it's going to be quite a good one for our local group, because we've known Tish for years, and she went over to America and she's married Dane Ince, and it was very lovely. We all followed it on Facebook Live, and we wish them both very well, and we're looking forward to seeing them next month. Okay, I'm going to read a little poem and then we'll get started with our second half. This is one I wrote just the other day. I'll probably change it before it goes anywhere. It's just called Dead End. The road is closed. A red sign tells me so. But I know what lies along that tarmacked route. My home, familiar faces laughing, a smoking fire, and my mother's red face, her words fanning arguments under a haze of cigarette fumes and the aroma of gin. I long to return to good times and bad, to the security of a household I've never found since. Oh, to retrace my steps, but the signs show all routes behind me are closed, all those people long gone, and all the voices merely memories. Thank you. Okay, well, without more ado, I'd like to introduce Tom Sastry. Tom has just launched his most recent book, which I'll get onto in a moment. Hera Lindsay Bird calls Tom Sastry a magician of the deadpan, a funny and engaging performer. He will be showcasing his brand new collection, You Have No Normal Country to Return To, fabulous title, a darkly comic exploration of national identity and the power of modern myths. It follows A Man's House Catches Fire, which was published in 2019 by Nine Arches Press, and was highly recommended in the Forward Prize and shortlisted for the Seamus Heaney First Collection Prize. His pamphlet Complicity was published in 2016 and was a Poetry School Book of the Year and a Poetry Book Society pamphlet choice. But if you get the chance of getting his book now, You Have No Normal Country to Return To. It is a fascinating, I almost said indictment, but it is in a way. It's a fascinating portrayal of our country, I think, from a different point of view. Tom Sastry navigates the mysterious every day, making friendships and love affairs new and strange. And that was a quote by Ann Duffy. So without more ado, I want you to give a very warm welcome to Tom Sastry.
Thank you very much. I hope I have successfully unmuted myself.
You have, I can hear you.
I'm going to apologize because my first poem contains some swearing. I don't really think of it as swearing because it's not aimed at, it's not demeaning or intimidating anyone, but it is there. And this is a love poem. And the only kind of sort of expensive residential poetry routine I've ever done, I did the masterclass at Tinewith with Gillian Clark and Ann Duffy, and we were all in awe of them, all 16 of us, and I read the poem I'm about to read, and it was about me and my partner, and we just got together, and we were very much in love. I like to think we still are. And anyway, I finished the poem, and Ann said, "Oh yes, you can tell their relationship is over," and I thought, "Oh shit." But that was not what I meant at all, to paraphrase another poet. So this is Difference. Your lover remembers things differently. She says it was still autumn. There were green leaves on the ground. The light was milky long, and she had already told you, so there was no mystery about what she might say. And she says you were falling over, trying not to get your feet wet, and that's how you pulled her into the biggest puddle in the world. In a way, it was easy for her. With the shock born, shoes ruined, nothing more to fear. Why not crash through with furious limbs saying, what the fucking fuck, but you had to muddle in after her, mortifying your toes. There are leaves in your version too, but they are brittle white. You remember a burnt sugar crust of ice on filthy water, but you did it. Even though you hated the ruin of comfort, the fact that you would never be safe and dry again, you did it. You ran through the puddle because the answer might be you, and didn't stop until you were close enough to reach for her. Then you stood, sunk to the calves with spattered cheeks, and kissed. Of course, she remembers it differently. Not just that day. Everything. My next poem is in a very different way, also a poem about memory. I have a recurring fantasy that one day I will fall into a peat bog. It would have to be a peat bog, because otherwise in this country you leave nothing behind you after about 100 years, because the preservation conditions are very bad, as archaeologists will tell you. But in this scenario, I fall into a peat bog and they dig me out in 5,000 years, and they put me in a glass case in a museum, and all you lot, sort of smug museum goers, are walking past with your theories about how I lived and died, and I'm there in this glass case in the museum, dead for 5,000 years, and I'm feeling a bit smug because all your theories are wrong, with a tiny little bit of consciousness left to me. And of course the joke's on me because you're still alive and I've been dead for 5,000 years, but I just like being right, so I'm happy. And this poem is called Sweet Biscuit Man, which is a backhanded tribute to the sweet biscuit aisle in Sainsbury's, which is totally unnecessary because sweetness is, of course, the default state of a biscuit, and savoury biscuits are the ones that ought to be explaining themselves. But I'm going to leave my political passions for later, so I won't go on about that. This is Sweet Biscuit Man. If you aren't lost, you will be a museum piece, rare and therefore beautiful, like a stuffed dodo or a megalith. Your voice notes will be valuable, 1,000 irreplaceable mouthfuls of long dead language. Your body will be precious, a leather bag of relics. Your 7-pound day sack will be carefully unzipped by latex-covered hands for its trove of receipts, biros, and small packets of convenience food. You will be given a name you wouldn't recognize, Sodbury Woman or Sweet Biscuit Man. The remains of your last meal will prove you had access to bananas and poppy seeds. They will think you were high, a priest of some sort. Perhaps they already know from adverts that white people couldn't stop embracing you as you walked down the street. To prevent further misunderstandings, you could carve notes on non-biodegradable plastic saying in various ways how you wanted things to be different, but also to love them as they were. Or you could just walk blindly into the future like there's any choice. Hold on to this. Time erodes all meanings. It's okay. I'm just going to fish out my set list, which I have foolishly misplaced. Oh yes, the next poem is a poem about my dad, although he's not really in it, but it's sort of a poem about my dad, and it certainly has his name. The poem is called Jagannatha. This, by the way, is from the new book, and for those, the cover is, I don't know if anyone can see this, the cover is a detail from John Martin's painting, The End of the Deluge, which is a piece of melodramatic Victorian biblical art. And all these people are lamenting their fate because they are, in fact, the people trying to escape the Great Flood, but they didn't make it onto the ark. So they're all going to drown. So that's a nice, cheerful, this is what I put on the front cover of my book. It tells you a lot about what's inside. Anyway, this is a poem sort of about my dad. It's called Jagannatha. The boy asked for my father's name. I didn't want him to have it, but couldn't explain why. He ran to the court where Dad was playing, shouting, Jagannatha, Jagannatha, like he now owned a piece of him. Not just any piece, the one that wasn't mine to give, my clumsy English syllables naked in a white boy's mouth, proving me false. My grandparents' names are underwater. I don't have tongue or letters for them. Taxi drivers will correct me in the pronunciation of my surname, say, you've never been to India, as if India was part of my soul. If it isn't, I am the end of history. All I begin is myself. I want to dispel any idea that that's a tragic idea, being the end of history. I think history is mostly terrible, and we're well off out of it. And the next poem is actually called The End of History 1, because there are two poems called The End of History in this book. I think this is a good joke. No one else thinks this is a good joke, but this is The End of History 1. And it's a riff on the idea popularized by the American political scientist Francis Fukuyama, that at the end of the Cold War, history was effectively over, which is a way of saying that we had arrived at the final state of human civilization, which is liberal democracy. And I read this when I was 15 I would have been, as meaning an eternity of Margaret Thatcher. And I thought it would be better to have an eternity of war, plague, and pestilence, and anything was better than an eternity of variations of Margaret Thatcher. So I thought it was a terrible idea. And this is a poem about that. I heard history was over. I wanted this to be wrong. I wanted things to turn. I wanted a world I could find beautiful on its own with no particular good news. I'd never had a truth that could hold me, so I was glad when the rage returned, glamorous as nails, bending railings and spitting glass with its same old ideas. I thought the bombs were love gone rogue, someone's attempt to shock hope into life. It worked, of course. Hope is back, pitiless as ever, waging war on lack. Okay, I've lost the set list completely now. I've put it in the wrong place, so I'm just going to riff from now on and just see where the book takes me. The next poem I'm going to read is a poem about tourism. And I set it on the moon because there's no more ridiculous idea than traveling all the way to the moon for a bit of tourism. And it's also a poem about loneliness. It's called The Sea of Tranquility. I didn't know what to get the old man, so I took him to the moon. He stood, holding up the line at the top of the steps, looked out and said, "There's nothing there," as if he was talking about another place he had visited before. I said, "Dad, we're here now." He pushed his fingerprints onto the bulb of my shoulder, Let me help him down the steps, the needs of his body hidden in his suit. He was right. The moon was empty. We scratched at the emptiness with our dull pretense of wonder, but when finally the earth rose without us, the loneliness was perfect. I could not remember why, back home, it feels so angry. That moment of silence was my gift to him. When he said, "Don't speak," he snatched it from me and presented it to himself. In spite of this, I let the magic in. I forgot about myself until we were back, standing on the step, turning the key on the dead air we had left, and my own absence hit me again like a great wave, like a decade, all at once, like a wall, over and over. Now, you probably wouldn't expect me to have a Jubilee poem, but I sort of do. This is someone who has a very grudging attitude towards the ceremonial stance of this country. I thought I should write a poem about people having street parties and having a better time than I am, and me being miserable and grudging about it. So this is a poem called England Says Yes. You'll know someone like England who knows what they don't like when they see it. How they lean over the fence, wanting to talk about people's front gardens, young men, electric scooters, human rights. How they love your bad news, a plan unraveling, a secret shame. How they scan your body for signs of woe. How you mock them and fear them and are them sometimes. You didn't know that today England would be out on the street, your street, wearing loud colours and a friendly smile, voice tipped back as if to catch the spray, voice fizzing like sorbet around the delicious word, yes. They raise that voice higher, yes, yes, yes. You smirk, sensing a joke to be made about Puritan sex. In that moment, you become England and they are somewhere brighter, repeating their yes like a prophet, or worse, a stranger. So foreign, so frightening, so vague. I'm going to go now to one of the darker poems in the book. This is a poem that imagines that I am sitting in an interview room in, well, it says actually in the title of the poem, 2031. I don't know why I chose that year. And people are asking me whether I should continue to occupy my job, given that I did nothing to stop the terrible things that were happening in Britain in the 2020s. And I will leave you to imagine what they might be in the scenario of this poem. So this poem is called Screening Interview 2031. Her accent draws me in. She is foreign and curious in a way we are not about each other. So I explain. Then she says, "Did you think it was enough to be kind?" And I can tell she wants a silence to demonstrate the power of her question. Because there is no enough. That's her point. She pulls a sheaf of pictures from her folder, slides one across the table, says, "You could have said no to this." I pick it up. I can't just leave it there. She has her silence. Or this. Or this. Can we talk about silence? She says. I'm going to do just two more poems. And the first of those is a poem called The End of History 2. because we get beyond the end of history and we get to the end of history too in this book. And what's happened here is that history is now over. The apocalypse has happened, and the speaker of this poem has somehow survived it and is wandering around. And this is what happens. The end of history too. They take you in when history spits you out. Don't ask questions. It seems they aren't aware you might be skeptical about the giant whose boot made the lake, whose chair the far cliff is. Everything has a name with a story to it. The world is flat. Demons find their boots when you bring shame on the house. They say it gently. Don't say that. As you remember more, it gets harder to see as they see, be as they are. Explain. But where could your knowledge take them? You can't share what you've lost, fill their larder with spice, prove the vastness of a star. All you bring is madness to shake them. I do like the idea behind that poem, which is that we understand so little about what makes our society work, that if we were pitched into a place which had no idea where we came from, we would be able to explain nothing about it, so it would die with us. So that's the sense in which history ends in that poem. I want to do a quick plug. I am going to be in person doing a rare face-to-face gig at the subscription rooms in Stroud. I'm going to be doing Subverse with Adam on the 15th of this month. That's a fortnight today. I'm really massively looking forward to it. And please, if you want to see me in person, and goodness knows why you would, but if you do, please come down. I will give you a smile, and hopefully that will make it all worthwhile. So there you go. And I'm going to finish with a poem about hope, because goodness knows we need it. And we always need it. And also the sun is shining, and it would be remiss not to finish with a poem about hope, because I shouldn't leave you miserable after some of these dark poems. So this poem is called Simple Magic for Dark Times. Try to see clearly what it is you love. Whatever you love, be honest. If it is your family more than the world, do not be ashamed. If it is your cat, or the smother of the morning bed, or a certain goal scored at Wembley in the 1970s, have no regrets. Be proud of your love. Bring it to mind. Bring it to the front, ahead of all other concerns. This is hard to do, but not impossible. Hold it as literally as you can in your hands. It is touching you. Touch it back. Say goodbye. You need to get it out of the country. You need to preserve it. Write it, draw it, pickle it, cure it, freeze it, hide it, bury it, put it in a bottle, tell it to a friend, carry it in the hollow sole of an old shoe to wherever it will be safe. And when hope has bolted into the deepest cave of your belly, hiding from all the temporary things, the memory of your love will have a form, and you can summon it when its lightness feels like an insult, when you need it most. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Tom. That was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And yes, I will make absolutely sure I get to Stroud on the 15th. Brilliant. I'm just amazed. I just actually want to read a little bit that's on the back of this book. Praise for No Normal Country to Return to. Tom Sastry unmasks the many personal and socio-political crises of identity engulfing post-Brexit, post-lockdown Britain, its battered illusions and tentative hopes. And I think it says everything. And thank you for stopping on a hopeful sign. So please, would you unmute and give an amazing a round of applause for Tom Sastry.
Woo! Woohoo! Fantastic. Great job, mate.
Can I just congratulate the person who immediately started the moon poem with a comment about Wallace and Gromit? Because actually that is kind of how I started writing.
I could not do it.
I thought you've got the one that does all the work and the ungrateful one, and they go to the moon. That's exactly the plot of that poem. So
brilliant. Yeah, I did see the comment. I didn't think I would comment back. Okay, thank you so much, Tom. And obviously, we're thrilled to have you as our judge for the Gloucestershire Poetry Open Competition 2022, which is wonderful. Do get this book. There are so many more poems in it, and everyone is a gem. So please look at the link, and that I think Jason's put on, and go and buy it. You need to. Okay, we go on with our open mic now. I'm sorry for whoever's going to follow that. But Vicky Hampton, are you okay to start our open mic off again?
It's going to be very difficult to follow that, isn't it?
I'll follow it.
As I was listening to Angela as well, I was reminded of two poems that I've got. Or rather one poem that sort of encapsulated both the swifts that Angela talked about and also the silences that Tom was telling us about. And I thought, oh, I'd love to read that. And then thinking about what Tom said about finishing on a note of hope. And I thought, no, I can't read that. It's too miserable. We won't carry on with hope if I read that. So I'm going to read two poems that I wrote last year. I took on an allotment last year. It was the first time I've had an allotment, and it was a total lifesaver for me. Through everything that we were all going through with lockdown. My son helped me to build the shed that we built there. And so this first one is called Building the Allotment Shed. Building the Allotment Shed. The slabs of its reclaimed floor speak in terms of life and previous. Tell the lengths of feather edge I clad the walls with, 7 years at best, as though they know they stand where the earlier occupant kept the compost heap. In the doorway, my son settles their displacement with a level threshold, mirroring what might have been. Under the window, greens browned by Easter snow, bryophytes point to where the water tanks want to be. We don't stop, and by dusk have made a palimpsest of someone else's plans. As the evening geese remapping the sky after the afternoon's plains. And the other one is one that I wrote at the end of the year, after having discovered that I really like having an allotment, and that the people that you meet on an allotment are fabulous. And I couldn't recommend allotment keeping to anybody enough. It's a lovely thing to do. This is called A Psalm for Allotment Keepers. A psalm for the headway makers and takers of baby steps. May sunlight forever hoe shadow from your plot. For the regenerators and shaper-uppers, may green shoots come of your delirious clippings. For the great gunners and their friends, the get-it-togetherers, may summer skies be staked with the height of your corn. For the encumbrance carriers, the pest bedeviled, may rain never miss your water butts, your slugs no salt. May they be psalms for worms and birds. For the old growers whose leaning brown sheds are haven to autumn spiders and onions, may the angle of your windows never prune the view. And for the winter retainers, the tillers of whore, may there be fire and gifts of wine and apples. Thank you.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you, Vicky. I especially love that allotment poem. It says everything, even may your slugs know salt. Wow. Thank you so much. Big round of applause for Vicky Hampton. Okay, we'll go straight on to Leslie Constable, please. Hi, Leslie.
Oh, hi, Josephine. What a wonderful evening. Thank you. Thanks for fitting me in. I thought whatever, long story. So I'm going to read two, and I'm going to start with this one. It's hopeful. So I'm going to read that. It's called Peace in the Realm. That which circles the waste holds you. That which circles the sun in their orbits, the hours of the day to count on each finger, the self which is you to ponder at moments in front of the mirror. You could sit in your corner enclosed in the world you create, the hours of the day lost in thought, the sugar plums of ideas dancing, mind to fingers, fingers that grasp the pen to pour this honey world onto paper, the bees drawn to your words like flowers to germinate and make plenty, the continuous thread of thought as the blooming of the spring, the wild buds, the shocking green of spring, the trees overfull in bloom of green, opening skyward to salute the cerulean sky of day, touching the moon in the dark of the evenings, the darkest night to turn once again into your days here on earth. The vast meadows, rolling hills, the high parts which lead your eye upward to behold the deepening sky as it moves in form, as forms the reformings on and on of clouds as they travel swiftly and low across the silent. As you look in the mirror, steady as self, yourself, you in the mirror, what do you see but all of them, the line of them behind you, in you, you and them, yours, theirs, the eyes blue, the eyes green or brown like yours, looking back at you, acknowledging your presence in the line, the continuous line, the root system which echoes in you and those to come. The thoughts which crowd you heavy, clouds lowering, be gone. It is your time now, each hour of your day, your time to make the best of, to take in the air as it moves around you, as it moves you around, take it into you, hold it, feel it, cherish it, this life that is yours, ours, and let it go, this breath, to know that breath follows breath, and we breathe and let it go, let it go. You've had enough, this thinking, and on your heel turn swiftly, an elegant kavan as you were taught, descend the stairs, open wide the door and greet your day. Smile, for this is you. The image is you now in this form, and love it. Love this moment. Love who you are. You, each of you, the miracle that you are to step with this day. And so my second one is a shorter one, and it's new. This one is called Word, simply that. It's about writing. I let the words, I'll start again. I let the words as they form and configure above me waft up and filter down. The configurations tangled, they hover for only a moment above, then sift down onto me as rain, the drops of images, memories releasing as they touch down upon me. Language in the material world, taking solid form as visible and real to the touch as the body, my body from which they emerged. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Leslie. That was lovely. Thank you so much. Please.
Fantastic, Leslie.
Leslie Constable. Okay. We're going on to Elmian Poet.
Yes, Elmine.
Elmian,
Hi. Elmine,
welcome.
thank you, Josephine.
Now, where are you in the world?
I'm in York.
You're in York?
In Yorkshire, yes, but originally from South Africa. I grew up in Durban, which is the last outpost of the British Empire. And,
right. Well done.
And I immigrated to the UK in November 2006. And within 4 days of arriving, I was introduced to the Queen. So I got to shake her hand. So, yes, it's all been downhill from there, really. I'm joking.
Okay.
Lovely, thank you. I'll just read a few very, very short poems in a little bit of a story. The Bruise. I stand before you. I shine. I give you my beauty, all my love. What in you wants to shut me up and shut me down? My paper-thin defenses are bruised by your frown. Anger. Tender shoot, fragile flame, burn. Cupped hands a bowl, heated from below by rage. Then steam escapes, pistons pump, and the engine of my life ticks into gear. New love. Silver rivulets flow in the loam of my heart and reach for your beautiful shore. The scent fills my lungs and I feel my breath slow. The quicksilver cataracts sink deeper and furled fronds like fingers. Hold on, then let go. Snakeskin.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Sorry.
That was beautiful. Yes. Thank you so much, Elmian. Please unmute and give a big hand of applause for Elmian.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we have Rose Leonard. Hi, Rose. Welcome.
Hi. The first one I'm going to read is called Paired Corners. Sister, do you remember watching Mum and Dad perform the dance of folding double bed sheets? I could have watched forever and never tired. And in my mind's eye, the sheet never gets smaller. So he and she forever step together, tendering their gifts of paired corners, then step back, opening wide their arms, the clean white linen billowing between them like angel wings. And then the sheet drawn taut with fine and practiced precision along smooth centre lines that both agreed upon without debate. I thought that they would always know which steps to take, which way the cloth would fall. And the next one, I'm going the wrong way. The next one is called My Horse. I don't actually have a horse these days, but autocorrect prefers horse to house. So I just thought I'd run with it. So, my horse. Let me show you round my horse. First, the muzzle. With gentle breath, nose to whiskered nose, introduce yourself. Inhale sun-dried meadow grass. She is tolerant of halitosis, interested in toothpaste. Look into her deep brown eye. You'll find no judgment there. Maybe something ancient, far off, 1,000-mile stare from her forebears on the endless plains. Can you swivel your ears the way she does? Try it. I think I see your glasses twitch. In fear or pain, her ears will lay flat back against her mane. Now at ease, she tunes in on your words, whatever confessions or endearments you care to share. Run your palm down her proud neck, on down over the deep chest, big chambered heart strong and willing within. Your hand follows a foreleg, the bones, the muscles, tendons, wisp of fetlock hair, and she will shift her weight, let you lift her hoof, great trusting beast, knowing you mean no harm and will care for her. Place the frogged foot gently down again, and look, she is so kind. You can creep beneath her round mare's belly. She knows you are defenceless. She will not stamp. And out the other side, stand. Lay your arms across her broad back. Her kind's fate sealed by the match in our anatomies, by our needs, her strength. Rest your face against her warm silk hide. Maybe she will turn her head, gently muzzle. Rest. There's time enough to stand like this, knee deep in buttercups together, her tail gently swishing, flanks softly rising, falling. Just breathe. It's all you have to do.
Oh, that was lovely. I'm very glad that there was change from house to horse. That was beautiful. Thank you very much. Please unmute and give a big hand of applause to Rose Leonard. That was wonderful.
Lovely.
Lovely. Okay, and now we go to Carlos the Unhappy. Hello, Carlos.
Hi there. Hi, all my seasick sailors.
I can see your beautiful garden now.
Well,
Because
a
the
bit
sun
of
has
the
sunk.
drive, yes. Yeah.
All right.
I can see you because the glare has disappeared too. Anyway, I got two poems, a short one and then a not so short one, but still not very long. First one is an angel rhyme in the style of Emily Dickinson.
Ooh.
Yes. The dead walk in mists of snow where time splits out of view. That you are gone, I will forever know, but not that the figure flashing there is you. That's the first one.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, she's pretty gloomy, Emily Dickinson, isn't she? Let's face it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But beautiful as well. The second one is slightly more political with a small p, and it's called On Book Burning. Burn flags, not books. Burning books is like burning birds, burning blossom, burning schools. The engulfing flames deny all grasping hope. Our eyes water uselessly, silently. So let us instead burn borders, burn big pharma, bring down the dark castles of hate and self. Let us reach out and give as only nature gives. Let us raise children, raise readers, raise the bar for humanity. Thank you.
That was brilliant. Thank you, Carlos.
Excellent stuff.
Thank you.
Can you please unmute and give a big hand for Carlos? Love that last poem. Brilliant. Thank you. And so now we have someone new coming in, a self-named Cheshire Cat.
Yes, nice to meet you all.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm going to read three poems. They're relatively short. The first one, a little bit of an introduction. It's when I came home from England earlier this year. I went to Flaybrick Cemetery, Memorial Gardens, and I walked past the tree that had a big plaque on it, and it was called the Champion Tree. And I swear I stood there for probably 5-10 minutes just staring at it in this state of bliss. And then I came home and I wrote this. This is called The Champion. Deeply rooted in pain, she sighs, her oxygen cries, feeding on the heroes of yesterday. They call her the champion tree. She doesn't really care, as the world forgets to respect and to blame, to forget and to shame. In the company of ghosts, she sings every spring, but still nobody comes. Gravestones fall, some beyond repair. A generation has passed since anybody cared. There are few left behind, strolling thoughtfully. Triumph trickles its last tears. Old cheers fading in the shadows. She takes a deep breath, feeding on what courage is left, hoping, yearning, begging us to keep learning. Angels still fight at night, but our demons are deafened, not willing to fight. An arena empty of purpose, once proud, once glorious, once true. Her branches tremble in frustration, shaking, vibrating in the pain of a broken nation ran by fools, no more than empty money-fueled tools. She begs, she prays again as she did yesterday. Please, for the love of God, fight the war within. Do it for tomorrow. Our blood should not be the price of your sorrow. That's called The Champion. Damn it, I had this, pardon me, I had it tagged and now I've got it back. I'm actually gonna do, the next one is called Love is the Answer. It's a mathematical poem. If love is the answer, what is the question? Equations are evasive, persuasive, sometimes invasive, so let's work this out. Are you interested in knowing what life is really all about? If there's nothing divided in two, multiplied by me and then you, who decides what's false, what's true? Wait, for love to be the answer, does it not require hate, loss, grief, an element of belief? For instance, if existence is pain, then pain is existence. You can't have one without the other. Oh, brother, this is confusion, slightly amusing. But wait, what does this mean? Where do I stand? If love is the answer, we must understand this. Bliss, truth, eternal youth, everything you desire requires fire, a death, a reason to take your next breath, to experience beauty. It comes with a cost. We must carry forward the love that we have lost. I got one more, if that's okay.
It's got to be very short, I'm afraid, because we only give 3 minutes, really. So could we stop there, and could you come again and give us some more, perhaps next month? That would be brilliant.
No problem at all. Thank you so much. I did have one more. It's very short, or it's no problem.
No, I think we're up to 9 o'clock, so we've still got someone.
See, it is. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Big hand of applause for Cheshire Cat, please.
Yeah, lovely.
Brilliant. Do come again. Looking forward to it. Okay, and last but not least, if he hasn't given up and gone home.
Yeah, I'm here.
Clive Osman, and we never know what we're going to get.
Right, well, yeah, I mean, to be honest, the poetry has been so good tonight that it's down to me to bring down the tone a little bit, isn't it? So,
yeah. Carry on, Clive.
Yeah, so.
Hello. Now, to celebrate my Platinum Jubilee, now that is 70 years, in case you don't know, because I know the standard of education in these parts is a little bit substandard. To celebrate, I wanted to involve the younger generation. So I commissioned Drake to write a celebratory rap. Unfortunately, with the Andrew business, I couldn't afford his fee. So I commissioned Doc, an up-and-coming Drake tribute act from the grimy streets of Mayfair. She said she would do it for the sherry, a bit like Simon Armitage in a way. She was hopeless. She rhymed Sweet Caroline with Chief Parasite. I couldn't see what she was trying to say, so I ended up writing it myself. Now I have to admit, I wrote it with the Ute in mind. So there are some words unbecoming of a queen. It's all they understand these days. Apparently I'm to blame. MC Hammer, whoever that is, I don't know. But I can see there are some apparently respectable people here. Now, this surprises me, as I thought modern poetry was all hedonism and debauchery. So I have changed the offending words. The youngsters probably won't get it, but their parents should have sent them to a decent school, like Eton or Harrow or something. So see what you think. Oh, I coughed like a man then, didn't I? Okay. I've been on the train for 70 years. Now it's time to kick back and have a few beers. Time to relax, taking nice and slow. Let my beloved son and hair have a go. Oh no, that's Charles. Oh, nether regions, no. He's a harmless person, he's a stupid mofo. He's a useless brother trucker, he's a useless brother trucker, he's a useless brother trucker, or something like that. And I should know, he's a useless brother trucker, he's a useless brother trucker, he's a useless brother trucker, and I should know. 70 years is a long, long time, but I need to do at least 79. Then Big Ears may decide to skip a generation and let his son Wills be head of the nation, as his half-brother Harry looks on in despair, with his James Hewitt face and his ginger hair. But even Harry would be better than Charlie, who everyone knows is a little bit balmy. A wet blanket in royal robes. We can't let him anywhere near the throne, because he's a useless brother trucker, he's a useless brother trucker, he's a useless brother trucker, and I should know. He's a useless brother trucker, he's a useless brother trucker, he's a useless brother trucker, and I should know. Camilla is a divorcee and Charlie is a spanner, but we have to thank our lucky stars. At least it's not Diana. Oops, did I say that out loud? I must be awfully tired. But the worst thing is there is no way that I will be fired. I want to abdicate, I really do, but not for a hair that has no clue. Let them prop me up and pretend I'm alive until Charles decides to step aside. Because he's a useless brother trucker, he's a useless brother trucker, he's a useless brother trucker, and I should know. He's a useless brother trucker, he's a useless brother trucker, he's a useless brother trucker, and I should know. Now, party like there's no tomorrow. If you can't afford to eat, you can always borrow. Then get yourself a better paid job or work a bit harder, you lazy slob. Yes, and vote Conservative. Tarquin, fetch my slippers, now! Thank you very much.
You are terrible. Okay, please, a really big hand for Her Majesty. Clive Osman.
Josephine, may I make a quick announcement? I'm sorry, so I have to leave.
Sorry.
Starting now for about the next hour and a half or so, there's an LGBTQ Pride Month open mic. I just put it in the chat, and I
put it in the chat then.
I just did. I just put it in, and I'll be reading toward the end of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you. Brilliant. Well, this brings us to the end of tonight. I think it's been fabulous. I would like to give a really big hand again for Angela France and her wonderful collection, Terminarchy, please. And the fabulous Tom Sastry and his collection, You Have No Normal Country to Return To, which was amazing. Oh. If you are around in Stroud on the 15th, go and find out if you can get some tickets, because I'm sure it'll be brilliant. And another big round of applause to all the open mics. Well done, everybody. Thank you. Well done. And that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for all coming along, and hopefully we'll see you next month when it will be Tish and Dane Ince, which should be really interesting.